everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share what we found in our reports, Health Equity in Nature, A Changing Climate in Lake County, Illinois. Let's get started. So just to start off, I'd like to open with this powerful reminder, which emerged as part of our qualitative data collection from Maria Kalunga, who is one of our partners in Round Lake. We learn about nature and we remember our journeys. We remember the bond that we have with our ancestors, and that's how nature operates and how nature heals itself. And I think that was a beautiful thing. So why health equity in nature? This report is really grounded in the belief that everyone deserves a healthy environment and access to the outdoors. So the motivation for creating this report emerged from many years of Brushwood Center's community-focused work, hearing people's anecdotal experiences and hearing the need for more data. We realize that although we know the healing power of nature and the arts, these resources are not equitably available, let alone the basics like clean air and water. Research shows that social and environmental factors contribute to risk of premature death twice as much as healthcare access. So in 2022, we launched the Health Equity and Nature Accelerator to focus on developing data and partnerships that address the root cause of these inequities. And this report is the first project of the Accelerator, which shows the current landscape of health equity, nature access, and environmental and climate justice in Lake County. The primary goal of the report is to empower change. We aim for this report to serve as a tool for community members, organizations, and decision makers to improve health and well-being in Lake County by compiling data, identifying priority geographies for investment, and providing actionable recommendations. There's a lot of people to thank. This report was made possible thanks to the time and contributions of many. We especially would like to thank the Brushwood Center staff and my fellow report research team, so Natalia, me, and Shreya. We worked together to build an outline and pull data sets that felt most relevant and current to the environmental and public health landscape in Lake County, Illinois. We'd also like to thank the Report Advisory Board, which consisted of 16 individuals who met monthly to help review the report development and process. And of course, special thanks to the artist who contributed to the report and its companion art exhibition, Visible. We'd also like to thank the Accelerator funders, including the Walder Foundation, Chicago Community Trust, the Gorder Family Foundation, and the Morrison Family Foundation. So if you haven't had a chance to get into the weeds yet, I'll give you an overview of the structure of the report. It's 92 pages, there's 10 chapters, 30 maps and figures, a handful of artworks. We have an executive summary and then a glossary and appendix. So it's jam-packed. And to kind of take a step back, I want to frame the report. To start off, we conducted a literature review and used the social drivers of health as a way to conceptualize the intersection of health equity and nature. And what social drivers are, they are conditions in which people are born, live, work, and play that affect the quality of life outcomes and risks. So we frame the data in this report within this context. While this report focuses on the neighborhood and built environment drivers, it also emphasizes the interconnectivity of all drivers and how they impact one another. Want to especially note that we decided to use drivers of health instead of determinants of health to reflect that people and communities can overcome or change as opposed to something that is fixed. There is this element of interconnectedness that is imperative to the intersections of health equity and nature, and it is imperative to work in collaboration as opposed to in silos. So to get into the methods a bit, we did have existing data that went into the report. So we identified and synthesized existing data sources and literature, both local and national, with project relevance. So we did a deep dive on what literature is already out there and what gaps there are in this work. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of great content out there, a lot of experts in the field. So that was our primary and first step. When it comes to mapping, we compiled existing geospatial data and developed a novel aggregate map. So that was important because we wanted to visualize data in a way that makes it easier for people to understand. There were 38 data sets that went into that final inequity map that we'll show later on. We also have qualitative data in the report. So we collected personal narratives through a method called photo voice, and also did individual interviews. So we heard from those who live in our community. We wanted those primary stories to connect to the data that was included in the report. And then at the end of the report, we solicited art inspired by the above data results featured in this report to interpret and explore the data themes. And you'll see those sprinkled throughout the slides today.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I'll hand it off to Talia to discuss more about the key findings. Also, it sounds like someone's microphone might be on.
Yeah, I went ahead and muted them. Thank you, Shay.
Yes.
And I'm here to talk to you all about the key findings. So first and foremost, we wanted to make sure that this report really captured the beauty that this community holds. So the green and blue space that is everywhere in Lake County. Lake County, as some of you all know, and I'm sure you're all aware of, is home to beautiful and blue spaces, including Lake Michigan, park districts, Lake County, forest preserves, state parks, rivers, and spaces created by a grassroots group. The Great Lakes are something so special about where you all live. I constantly am just jealous of Lake Michigan, and it's important to recognize what a huge resource that is, along with the greenery that is in Lake County. So there's over 50,000 beautiful acres of forest preserves and open spaces, 550 miles of trail and bikeway connections, 40 miles of Lake Michigan beaches, and more than 200 lakes and rivers. Yet, as you heard from Shay's introduction, access remains a challenge. So unfortunately, despite all this abundance, there are barriers to accessing the outdoors. Nearly half of Black African-American respondents and 31% of Hispanic respondents expressed access, safety, or maintenance concerns to visiting parks or open spaces versus 21% of white respondents. Interviewees identified numerous barriers to accessing nature, which included limited transportation options, lack of materials in Spanish, cold weather, and a need for more culturally relevant nature-based programs, providers, and partnerships. And we know that history informs systemic inequities. So where you live should not determine how long you live. And how we see this in the Chicago region. Lake County's history is similar, with a history of housing discrimination and industrial development that continue to drive systemic inequities at the root of environmental and health injustices. Analysis of demographic information, including race, population, average age of death, median household income, and housing costs, revealed that Black and Brown communities in Lake County experience the lowest life expectancy, the highest cost burden, housing cost burden, and lowest median household income, which are reflected in these three maps. And across the United States, communities of color experience elevated risks to environmental hazard. This is also true in Lake County as well. 5 of the 8 Superfund sites in Lake County are located in and around the Waukegan area, a community that is predominantly Black and Brown. These have an impact on health, causing respiratory diseases, skin rashes, and cancer. Unfortunately, there are amazing grassroots organizations and community members like our folks at Clean Power Lake County who are successfully leading the fight against these challenges. In 2022, the coal-fired power plant in Waukegan was successfully closed with the advocacy of Clean Power Lake County. Yet many toxic challenges remain, particularly in northeastern Lake County, including Superfund sites, ethylene oxide pollution, coal ash ponds remaining at the recently closed coal-fired power plant, and additional water, ground, and air pollutants from the industry, as well as diesel. These challenges have very real health implications. So these 2 maps that you can see show the prevalence of asthma on the left and diabetes on the right. Air pollution particularly has direct implications on asthma rates, and growing research is demonstrating the connection between pollution exposure and chronic diseases like diabetes. So this map is our systemic inequities map. And in order to visualize all of these things, these compounding impacts, our team combined 38 data sets from health, environmental quality, climate, transportation, green space, and demographic data into this aggregate map. And so this map shows that northeastern Lake County is most overburdened by environmental and health inequities. So 38 maps were overlaid and showed which community was most burdened. Addressing these issues is even more important in the context of our changing climate. Average temperatures in Lake County have already increased more than 1 degree Fahrenheit since the 1800s, and we have also seen an increase of more than 1 inch of rainfall for large storms since the 1970s. A warmer, wetter climate has direct implications on health. Rising temperatures impact human health through heat-related illnesses, sleep quality, increased allergens, and food availability. Mosquito-borne illnesses, tick-borne illnesses, decreased water quality, and flooding are on the rise due to increased precipitation. And also, we wanted to, something that we found in the report was in our findings is that nature is a source of healing. So community voice was a focal point of this report. And we knew that if we really wanted to capture the story of Lake County, we had to talk to our community. And through our 21 interviews, we found the dominant theme to be transformative experiences pertaining to nature. The theme of transformative experiences encompasses many different things, both the positive and negative outdoor experiences, and touches on physical and mental health benefits, acceptance of nature for its good and bad, nature and beauty, nature and creativity, and finally, local Lake County experiences. Nature is a source of healing. Nature can facilitate a deeper and more meaningful connection with oneself, community, and environment. And I will pass it over to Shreya.
Hello, and I will go over some of the recommendations that we compiled in the report. Improving and creating a healthier environment and community in Lake County really means supporting, empowering, and investing in a lot of community-driven, equitable solutions. We really came up with some actionable recommendations for this report. And although a lot of it focuses on the local level, a lot of it can also still apply to a state and national policy level as well. There are about 6 themes of recommendations and more than 60 different actionable items. But for the sake of time, we'll probably just go through the themes and I'll provide one example of an actionable item. We really tried to make sure that there are a lot of different actions that can be taken from it and that it's for everybody. And we really hope that all of you would be a part of these solutions. So the first recommendation is to center everything on community voices as well as assets. We really want to prioritize the lived experiences as well as knowledge of local people and communities. One example of this includes creating an accessible digital community asset map that documents, shares, and provides different health equity resources, including nature-based programs and spaces. The second recommendation is to prioritize communities that are overburdened by systemic inequities. A lot of these we found were in northeastern Lake County. And an example of this would be investing in recreational infrastructure and programs and increasing transportation options so that people are connected to all of these different spaces. The third recommendation theme is to advance climate justice by pushing for clean air and water. An example of this would be providing support for groups and community organizers that really push for environmental justice in Lake County. For example, those that focus on ethylene oxide regulations, as well as the removal of coal ash ponds in Waukegan. Another major recommendation theme is to increase the awareness as well as access to outdoor green and blue spaces. With this, we kind of found that it is just as important for people to be aware of what's actually out there. And for this, an example would include ensuring that all marketing and promotion of outdoor resources, which also includes program descriptions, knowledge of trail maps, as well as the presence of signs and making sure that everything's translated into Spanish. The fifth recommendation theme is to better integrate nature-based solutions within healthcare systems. And an example of this would include providing professional development opportunities to local healthcare providers and community health workers, specifically on green and blue space assets in Lake County, as well as the different benefits that are associated by spending time in these different spaces. Finally, our last recommendation theme is to invest in culturally relevant social infrastructure for outdoor engagement. And an example of this would be increasing in culturally relevant nature-based programs by investing in multilingual facilitators, community-driven community design programs, as well as partnerships. So we invite you to join us in really activating the different recommendations that are a part of this report. And different ways to do that is by taking part in some of the initiatives that we have started. So Visible is the companion art exhibition to this report. It features about 26 different artists, and it tells the story of this report through creative expression. It's also going to be open up until September 3rd at Brushwood. And every Saturday, all the way up until September, we partnered with Drippin' Culture to host On the Grounds, which will happen at Brushwood. We would love it if all of you could join us for coffee, hiking, as well as conversations. This year, we also produced a children's activity book. We had translated some of the major themes of the report into a more kid-friendly manner, and we have many copies of this book that are available. Brushwood would also be distributing this through different Lake County-based organizations to children and families through our Nature Explorer backpack program. We would also love to share this presentation if you could with all of your different communities, networks, and groups. We are focused on distributing the report and results, and we would really like to request, like it if you could request different copies of this report or a book. And if you would like to do so, please reach out to Nikki Figueroa, who is with us on this call as well. We are also launching a pilot partnership this fall with Highwood Library and the community center, and it's basically going to involve a trauma-informed nature intervention that would be delivered by community health workers. What we're really hoping to do is to provide it in a language that's also helpful to them. And we will slowly be looking at offering different trainings like this to other different healthcare providers in Lake County. And we'd be very happy to discuss this as well.